July 31st, 2011. It's 92 degrees in Detroit, Michigan. The Angels and Tigers are set to play the last game of a 3-game series. But there is so much more than that going on today. The Angels come into this game having beat Detroit 2 out of the first 3. Their record is 59-49, and they're only 2 games behind Texas in the AL West. A sweep in Detroit would show the Rangers that LA is the real deal this year. The Tigers, on the other hand, are 56-51. Despite only being 5 games over 500, they're all alone in first place in the AL Central. But not by much. Cleveland is just a game and a half back, so Detroit needs to salvage today if they want to keep their playoff spot. This would be an interesting game for just about any baseball fan, but it doesn't end there. As of today, there are 2 main frontrunners for the American League Cy Young, Justin Verlander and Jared Weaver. As fate would have it, they're going head-to-head in this pivotal game. Weaver comes in today on fire. He's had 13 straight quality starts. He's gone 6 or more innings in each of his last 30 starts. He also leads baseball with a 1.79 ERA. Also, the most important stat of all, Weaver has a record of 14-4 at this point. JV matches Weaver with 14 wins, but he has 1 more loss with 5. That's it. Weaver's clearly better. No need to analyze further. Win-loss record is all that matters. Video over. Bye. Alright, now that you've all left angry comments, I'll expand on Verlander's season, I guess. He's 4th in baseball with a 2.34 ERA. He leads the American League with 173 innings pitched and 169 strikeouts. Bottom line, he's good too. In fact, both pitchers have eerily similar seasons, careers, and stakes today. Both are 28 years old. Both had their first real season in the big leagues in 2006. Both are having career years this season. They have the exact same WAR of 5.1, which is tied for second, only behind CC Sabathia. Both started pitching for teams that were on an upswing after years of losing baseball. And today, it only makes sense that both would be going head-to-head to gain much-needed momentum for their playoff hopeful teams. Needless to say, this game will go a long way in deciding the 2011 AL Cy Young. So let's jump into it. The game started out like you might have expected it to. After the top of the third, Verlander and Weaver gave up a combined 2 hits and 5 strikeouts. But like every anti-shift, anti-bat flip, anti-fun pitcher will tell you, a leadoff walk spells doom. The GOAT Don Kelly watched 4 balls and took first to start the bottom of the 3rd inning. 3 batters later, Maglia Ordonez came to the dish and... Let me tell you something. Jared Weaver did not like that. He thought Maglia stood and admired his homer for too long, which sounds like something this guy would say. After the game, reporters asked Ordonez about the incident. He told them, quote, "I don't hit many homers anymore, and I wanted to make sure it stayed fair." After that, he was yelling at me to run faster, and I told him that I'm old. That's as fast as I run. He followed up his statement by saying, "I'm not going to show anyone up. That's not me." Let's look at the validity of this statement. Maglio's in his age 37 season this year. He's had injury problems since 2009, and earlier this year he was placed on the IL and completed a rehab stint in AAA Toledo. He's struggled at the plate and was in danger of having a batting average below 100. If not for a late surge, his 2011 slash line would have looked even worse than this. He also hasn't hit more than 12 homers in a season since 2008. That's a check on old, slow, not hitting many homers anymore, and not having a reason to show anyone up. Don't believe me? Here's more evidence. Maglio is a 6-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger who won a batting title by hitting .363 and led the league with 54 doubles that year. He finished as high as 2nd in MVP voting and was a postseason hero for Detroit. He's achieved some of the highest highs possible, and he's having a season he likely wants to forget. I mean, for crying out loud, the guy's famous saying is, "When I try to do too much, I don't do too much." If you still think Maglio was trying to show up Weaver, then you're probably John Smoltz. It's also worth mentioning that Weaver has a tendency to disagree with umpires and opposing players. He comes unraveled when he's angry, and he can lose focus on the game when he feels disrespected. So how did Weaver respond? He got the next 12 straight Tigers batters and struck out 5. Not a bad recovery. Then, in the bottom of the 7th, Carlos Guillen came to the plate. Let's talk about him for a minute. Guillen is in very similar circumstances to Maglio at this point. He too is 35 plus, he was an all-star 3 times in his career and put up some pretty good numbers throughout the years. Now, he's the often injured guy that hasn't had a healthy season since 2007. Another way Guillen and Maglio are alike is where they are from. Both were born and raised in Venezuela. Maglio in Caracas and Guillen in Maracay. The two cities are just about 50 miles apart, and each player made it to the big leagues at the same time. So not only do the two have a mutual respect for each other because they represent the same country, they also faced the same competition at the same time and excelled. That respect has only grown now that the two are in their 7th year as teammates. When Guillen saw how Weaver reacted to Maglio's home run, he didn't take kindly to the response. In his mind, Maglio did nothing to disrespect Weaver. After the game, reporters asked him about the incident, and he had this to say. Maglio has 14 years in the big leagues. You don't tell him to run. I respect people when they respect us. If you don't respect us, you don't get it. Obviously upset, Guillen came up to the dish in the 7th with the intention of showing Weaver what true disrespect was.
High drive, deep right field, way back, to the track, to the wall, it's gone!
That's a pretty gnarly home run. But check this out, admiring the shot, the bat flip, the stare down, the ultimate sign of disrespect. Rumor has it that every time this video plays, this guy loses more hair. Knowing what we know about Jered Weaver, it's obvious he's a ticking time bomb now. As it turns out, his timer was set to the next pitch. He threw a 92-mile-per-hour fastball at Alex Avila's head and was immediately tossed. Detroit cheered as Verlander's biggest Cy Young competition made his way off the field. Weaver finished the day with 3 earned runs, a walk, 8 strikeouts, and 6 2/3 innings pitched. For most pitchers, that'd be a pretty solid outing. For Weaver, it was the end of his sub-2 ERA and his chances at the Cy Young. But what about Justin Verlander? How did he fare against the Angels lineup? Short answer, pretty good. He was locked in from the words play ball. He took a perfect game into the 8th, which was kind of a crazy half inning in and of itself. To start the 8th, Eric Aybar led things off and immediately put down a bunt. Justin Verlander fielded himself and threw it wildly into foul territory, giving Aybar second base. It was ruled an error. Still, JV did not appreciate losing his perfect outing on a bunt. He went on to call the play Bush League and gave Aybar this stare, which is awfully familiar. 1 out later, Aybar was standing at third when Peter Borges hit this ground ball. Then the wheels fell off. Aybar, caught in the rundown, should have been dead to rights, but Verlander was right in the middle of the botched play again. It was ruled a fielder's choice, but a run still scored. Then JV struck out Howie Kendrick, but before he could get out number 3, Masher Izturis broke up the no-no for real. A second run scored, making it 3-2 with the game-tying run standing on second. Verlander went from losing his perfect game on a bunt to losing the shutout on a botched rundown to losing the no-hitter and was in danger of losing the game. No doubt he was pissed. He felt disrespected the same way Weaver did just a half inning ago. But he released his anger in a different way when Torrey Hunter came to bat. Instead of throwing at his head, JV threw 3 straight 100+ mile-per-hour fastballs right by Hunter to end the inning. After that, Hunter pulled a Kevin Durant and joined the Tigers as soon as his contract was up. Guess he didn't want to deal with that anymore. In the 9th, Verlander gave way to closer Jose Valverde, who got save number 28 en route to his perfect 49 for 49 season. As you might have guessed, Justin Verlander went on to win the Cy Young. What you might not have guessed was that Verlander also finished as the MVP. This was because he paced the league in so many different categories. To name a few, he led the AL in wins, games started, ERA, innings pitched, strikeouts, ERA+, WHIP, and hits per 9. He also threw his second no-hitter against the Blue Jays in May, and he had 4 complete games. Jered Weaver, on the other hand, still finished with good numbers, but not nearly the same level he was at in late July. His ERA rose from 1.79 to 2.41. He went 4-3 in his final 7 decisions on the year, and his whip in the second half rose from .912 to 1.154. He also allowed 10 more home runs post-All-Star break than he did before it. Both pitchers had a great 2012 season, but that's where their careers diverged. Weaver steadily declined each year until he was a free agent. He signed with San Diego in 2017, but he didn't finish the season. He retired in August simply because he wasn't producing. Verlander experienced some hardship as well in the 13 and 14 seasons due to injury, although these would be career years for most pitchers. In 2016, he finished second in Cy Young voting, even though he had the most first-place votes of any pitcher by far. In 2017, he was traded to the Astros and won his first and only World Series title. In 2019, he won the Cy Young again 8 years later. It wasn't until last season that age and stress finally caught up to his arm. However, he's planning to return next season. So what happened to the Tigers and Angels? Detroit finished 95 and 67 with a 15-game lead in the AL Central. They beat the Yankees in the ALDS and went 6 games with the eventual World Series-bound Texas Rangers. The Angels finished 86 and 76, which was 10 games behind those same Rangers in the West. They missed the playoffs because they were 5 games back in the wildcard chase. Remember, in 2011, there was only 1 wild card per league. Even if there were 2 like today, they would have been 4 games behind Boston. 2 incredibly talented pitchers with similar career trajectories collided in a matchup that changed their lives forever. 2 playoff hopefuls put their best efforts on the field, which led to the victor heading to the postseason and the loser staying home. 2 injury-prone, beloved veterans made one final push for their team's future success without them, solidifying their legacies. It was truly a game for the ages.